Good evening, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Shireen, and I will be moderator for this session. Today we have a seminar, and this seminar is a part of Viksit Bharat Utsav lecture series that is organized by Government College for Women, MA Road, Srinagar. On 11th of December, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi launched Viksit Bharat at 2047, Voice of Youth. This initiative aims to provide a platform to the youth of the country for contributing ideas to the vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047. The vision encompasses various aspects of development, including economic growth, social progress, environmental stability, good governance, and among others, by the 100th year of India's independence. For today's seminar, we have with us Dr. Abina Habib. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. We are very, very
Thank you so
grateful.
much.
Dr. Abina is an assistant professor presently working in Department of English at Government College for Women, MA Road. She has received her doctorate from University of Kashmir and teaches graduate and postgraduate courses in English literature. Her academic interests include topics like feminism, literary studies, impact of globalization on native literature, the history and appropriation of English language, among others. As students of you, ma'am, we are always very honored to learn from you, to hear from you, and this is one such occasion where we get to expand our minds and uh, collect this wisdom on this topic that is very pivotal at the moment, the topic for today's seminar, which is empowerment of women, empowered women rather, at 2047. Now, Viksit Bharat or Sakshat Bharat cannot be so without the development, empowerment, and representation of India's half population, the half of the population of our country. And thus, this big topic becomes one of the most important topics to be discussed under Viksit Bharat. And for, to elaborate further on this topic, I hand it over to Dr. Abina.
Thank you so much, Shuri. You're my lovely student, and it's always such a privilege to interact with you people. Now, today we are going to talk about Viksit Bharat Abhiyan or Utsav, and it was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister himself. And there are several aspects to this, and how we can become a developed nation or fully developed, completely developed, not a third world country anymore by 2047. That's the 100th year of independence. So Viksit Bharat at 2047 is the voice of youth. It's your voice. All of you are equal participants, equal stakeholders in this. It is the vision of the government of India to make India a developed nation by 2047. As I said, the 100th year of its independence. The vision encompasses various aspects of development, including economic growth, social change, environmental sustainability, and good governance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the Utsav through a virtual mode, and the initiative seeks to involve the universities and students in attaining the goal of developed India by 2047. It is the largest ever outreach program of the Government of India and will cover 2.6 lakh panchayats and 4,000 urban local bodies across the nation. And we hope to achieve this by January 25th, 2047. For this to happen, there is a need to chalk out a bold and ambitious and transformative agenda and its communication to all stakeholders. The role of youth, who constitute our largest population group, we are privileged in that aspect that India has one of the youngest populations in the world. It has a huge role to play. The youth has a huge role to play, and they will lead India to Viksit Bharat. So in conclusion, India can undoubtedly reach this extremely ambitious goal of being the developed country by 2047. But we have to acknowledge our weaknesses for doing this and focus on economic as well as social development of the country. So, as Shireen already said, I'm here today to talk about the empowered Indians. The broad topic was empowered Indians, but it is too generic a term for me, and to suit my academic interests and my work and the sphere in which I work, I have narrowed it down to women empowerment. Now, within the broader context of women's rights, the socio-political ideal of women's empowerment is envisioned as a process that helps women reach their full potential and their rights to resources, opportunity, choice, and autonomy in making decisions both inside and outside the house. We don't only have to fight for a voice outside the house, we have to fight for a voice inside the house. That's how it is. A better way to talk about empowerment is when improvements in women's circumstances are complemented by their capacity to shape social change and provide equitable opportunities in political, social, and economic aspects of existence. We can't exist in isolation. We can't be powerful at home and disempowered outside the home. We can't be economically dependent yet independent. There is so much plurality, there is so much dichotomy, there is so much opposites and contrary points of view to this. But really, it doesn't have to be a point of view. There is no point of view to independence, that women should be independent. And it can't be achieved in isolation. It has to be a cooperation and bringing together of all the aspects of a woman's life, be it her home, her working place, society, her voice that should be heard and respected everywhere. So in the preamble of the Constitution of India, which we keep on talking about again and again, it contains a very strong mandate for equality and women's rights, as well as explicit provisions for affirmative action. India is also a signatory of a large number of UN conventions. It includes the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the Beijing Platform for Action, and the Convention of Rights of Child, which demonstrates our country's commitment to protecting and empowering its women and girls. The recent adoption of India of the ambitious 2030 Sustainable Development Goals will further change the direction of development by addressing fundamental concerns such as poverty, inequality, and violence against women. Now, notwithstanding the constitutional mandate, the discourse on women's empowerment has been gradually evolving over the last decade. We can't say that no work is done at all. A lot of work is being done in this aspect. But there's a paradigm shift that has occurred from seeing women as mere recipients of social welfare schemes, where we are given, I won't say rights, privileges, just because we are women. And as women, we never ask for that. As women, all we are asking for is equity, equality. Everything should be same. If we constitute the 50% of the world's population, if we are 50% population of the whole world, how can you have different rules? How can you have different regulations? How can you have different attitude for one gender and not for the other? So discrimination has to be fought on so many levels. Now, from being mere recipients of welfare benefits, it has come to mainstreaming gender concerns and engaging them in the development process of the country. Nearly a decade and a half has passed since the National Policy for the Empowerment of Women, 2001, was formulated, which laid down this comprehensive, progressive policy for the advancement, development, and empowerment of women with appropriate policies, prescriptions, and strategies of what we have to do and how we have to do it. What we have to do is the easy part, actually. How we have to achieve it is the difficult part. Since then, significant strides in global technology and information systems have placed the Indian economy on a trajectory of higher growth, impacting the general populace with women, and women in particular, in unique and different ways. These changes have brought forth fresh opportunities and possibilities for women's empowerment, while at the same time presenting new and emerging challenges, because with every opportunity, there will be challenges and they have to be addressed. And along with these socio-economic problems, which continue to hinder gender equality and holistic empowerment of women, it is deep-rooted in patriarchal societies, and position of women is disempowered at every step of this patriarchal society. Now, several contradictory developments have emerged in the recent years, and it needs to be addressed. It needs to be talked about. We can't shove it under the carpet anymore. The growing recognition, there's a disparity somehow. There is an opposition somehow. It exists within the concept, if you understand what I'm saying. There's a concept, and the opposition to that concept exists within the concept. Now, this might be the growing recognition of, we all understand that there is a growing recognition of gender rights and equality, but yet at the same time, it is contrasted with the increase in reporting of various forms of violence against women, such as rape, trafficking, dowry deaths, and so on. On the one hand, there is an expansion of new work opportunities for women. You know, I wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here had there been no new opportunities for women. We are not saying there aren't any, but alongside this continues the weak bargaining power that women have in the labor markets, for example. The increasing number of educated, aspiring, career-oriented women has increased, no doubt about that. Yet, large sections of women remain in low-wage setup, informal setup, where the wages are not regularized, where their work is not regularized. Similarly, the feminization of agriculture and increasing number of female farmers has increased. Definitely, it has increased. Yet, that brings forth the question. And what is the question? That brings forth the question of ownership and rights. Who owns the land? You're the farmer, but do you have ownership rights over the land? Can you own land? Are you given land to own? Or is it easy for a woman to own land? These are the questions that we have to address. In the coming years, India is expected. Yes.
I just got one insight here. Do you think that this, how you said that there is a disparity and now there is this good side of all the progress that is happening, and then there is this somehow equally surprising, an opposition.
Contradiction,
in
yes,
women
opposition,
empowerment.
yes, within the concept.
And as you began with saying how the preamble of our constitution talks about
Gives us
women
equal
empowerment and
rights.
stuff. But at the same time, you said about the patriarchal society that we have, and I think somehow, even though we have these, we have the constitution talking about it, we have the 2001 Act for women, we have all these other things, but at the end of the day, they somehow remain on the paper, because when it comes to ground reality, we are dealing with people who are deeply rooted in a patriarchal society. And so even when now we try to do something good about women, rather than for the general population, for the average population of India, rather than it being rather than having a positive conception towards it, they get angrier and their patriarchal roots start jolting, and they start revolting against such things, which then results in violence against women. And so what are
Yes,
your
rightly
comments
so.
about that?
Yes, rightly so. And as I said, there is opposition at every step. But if we are to have a developed nation, by fully developed nation, by 2047, we have to address these issues. And we have to address these issues in the coming decade or so, couple of decades. We have to address these issues. If we don't, then this dream is going to remain a dream. Viksit Bharat will never really materialize anywhere practically. Because women are pivotal to society. It's not just that we are the gender, but we are the otherized gender. As I keep on teaching you, I keep on telling you the concept of the other. And who has otherized us? The man has otherized us. And when we talk about gender equality, when we talk about women empowerment, when we talk about fighting for our rights, it is not that we are talking about you and me only. We are talking about everybody. One second, let me. Basila, let me give her a break. Yeah, you can continue, Shireen. You want to add something to that? Does anyone else have something to say here? We can be brief.
Yes,
We could, yeah. Yes,
we
Fasi.
can be brief. Just before हम ये meeting start करने से पहले, all of us we were having a little chat, and then again हमें realize हुआ कि when we talk about हमको develop होना है by 2047, and then we look at the number of population India has, and फिर हम देखें कि हमें कितने लोगों को aware करना है और उसमें से हम कितने लोगों को aware कर रहे हैं.
That is what I was
It
talking
is a
about. It's a huge project. And it is a very welcome project in the sense that if we are thinking on those lines of developing a country and taking it to the next level of removing this third world country tag that is attached to us, then we have to give everyone equal rights. Then we have to even even rights for animals, for that matter, for underprivileged. I'm not just when we talk about disempowered, we're not only talking about women, we're talking about children. We're talking about people who can't defend themselves. We are talking about differently abled people. We are talking about animal rights. We are talking about human rights generally. It's not that men are not incarcerated. ऐसा नहीं है. I never say that. But it's just that we are doubly incarcerated. We suffer all the problems that men suffer, and then we suffer a little more because we are women. And again, not talking about you and me only here. I'm talking about all those women who are actually going through the grind, who actually have tremendous problems in the society. So let me continue. So after talking about this dichotomy, we have to achieve the dream of Viksit Bharat, and for this we need to empower the women. And for this to happen, we need to formulate new policies that can guide transformative shifts in gender rights, addressing women's issues in all its facets, capturing emerging challenges, and ultimately positioning women as equal partners of sustained developed progress in the country that we are in. There needs to be a re-scripting, because हमारा जो script है ना, that's a faulty script to begin with. Because to begin with, the socialization that we receive is faulty. So we have to re-script the whole process. But as individuals, of course, it is our individual responsibility. But then at policy level, there have to be changes. Policies have to be formulated in such a manner that they empower women. And gradually, changes will take place. It's not, as you said, that we have to make the whole population of India aware of what we are doing or what Viksit Bharat is and what women's rights are and how we have to progress. No, what we have to do is the government has to take steps. They have to formulate policies and they have to implement policies. Once they do that, there will be a shift. Although gradual, it will take time, but there will be a shift. If I see as a woman that there are so many opportunities available to me, for example, the taxation laws. If I'm not taxed as heavily, if I have a startup, a small startup as a woman, I start a venture, and I'm not taxed that heavily, of course, I will be very interested in what I'm doing. I'll work harder. I'll be independent. And for this, we need help and support from the government. We need NGOs to participate. We need the government to participate. We need good policies. We need women-friendly policies. Now, ideally, we would like to live in a world where there is no discrimination, where we don't want different kind of rules, regulations, and policies for women, where we want that, yes, we are asking for equity. We are asking for an egalitarian society. We are asking for everything that a man has, we should have too, isn't it? Irrespective of whether we are men or women, we have equal rights. When we are asking for that on the one hand, it is a question I get asked very regularly. If you're asking for that, then how can you ask for subsidies? How can you ask for rebates? How can you ask for financial, help, loans? For example, some loans are given to women where they don't have to pay that much interest on it. And how can you ask for reservation in anything, whether it's in parliament, legislature, judiciary, wherever? Now, ideally, we would like to live in a world where we don't have to ask for these things. And ideally, we would, if this world were a utopia, we would never have to ask for these things. It would be a sultana's dream. I have not taught you that. I've taught that to the other class. But then it would be a matriarchal society. Where now imagine if men are made to do everything that women go through. Well, how would it be for them? There are a couple of men here today. There are a couple of boys. कैसा लगेगा आपको? I always get a smile for these questions and no answer. What do you have to say about that? Okay, you gather your thoughts and you can talk about it later, because for paucity of time we can't talk. But ideally, if the world were a utopia and we had equal rights, we wouldn't have to ask for subsidies. We wouldn't have to ask for help. But we are an incarcerated gender. We have been imprisoned by the thoughts of other people. We are imprisoned by man-made cages, although they're invisible to the eye. But we need help in getting equity. तो तब आपको equal rights आपको और equal behavior आपका तब होगा ना when you're participating and competing equally. But what about this? How do you compete with, what happens to this space between my two hands? We are not competing on equal footage, equal ground hona chahiye. Then we compete equally. And once we compete equally, once we have that equal ground, equal footing, and we start from, ye race jo hai na, ye start honi chahiye ek point se. You can't be placed behind a man, decades behind a man, and then you expect to outrun him. That's not going to happen. That will not happen. Okay. So our main interest here today is actually to talk about things that need to change by 2047. So that after 2047, our women don't have to ask for privileges, special privileges, or special rights, or special laws. Okay? Now, coming to the second half of my presentation, we need to suggest what we expect for women in the next 2 decades or so. And wouldn't we all love to live in a society in which women attain their full potential and are able to participate at equal and influence social change? There are so many girls here today. Tell me, do you ever feel that you are in an equal position with the men around you? Who wants to
I would like to start. Here we are talking about women empowerment, but ironically, I do not have things to say about that. I won't be advocating for empowerment. What I will be advocating for, unfortunately, is basic right to life and security. I would like to start from the start.
Yes.
So we are talking about the
You're
100th
absolutely
year
right.
of independence. And I want to bring news from the 75th year of independence, India's independence. It's news from August 15th, 2022, when during the Independence Day celebrations, 11 convicts who were sentenced to imprisonment for the Bilkis Bano case were released for good behavior, on the basis of good behavior. I bring you another news, which is about the leading women wrestlers from India who were protesting against the repeated sexual assault conducted by, to them by the chief Brig Bhushan, and they were thrashed. And it was not just one case; there were at least 15 incidents of sexual assault committed by the same man. And there is a lot to say. I have so much more to say. I bring you this very important, this very thought-provoking comment by.
Completely identify with what you're saying. It is a very emotional issue for all of us. We all know that. But rather than dwelling on,
I can't even get to that.
I know, I understand. I go through what you are going through. I go through it every day. But right now, the point is, let's make this a very fruitful discussion where we have suggestions as to how we can improve.
Yeah.
As women, what we expect to be done in the next 20 years. So as a woman, what would you want should be done in the next 20 years or so?
Starting from the scratch, from the House of the Parliament, I have a few statements that were made in last 30-40 days against the women, age shamed them, body shamed them for having a hair color done, for getting a facial done, Didi o Didi, and remarks like that.
And the bill about period leave.
Which was a hoodwink, basically. They hoodwinked the country because it is, they have not given any timeline. And
okay, let me ask you a question.
There's a lot like rightly.
Basila, let me ask you a question. Do you think there should be period leave?
Yeah, the one Smriti Irani.
Yeah. What do you have to say
Absolutely.
about
Why not? Absolutely, yes. There should be a period
that?
leave. There should be.
Here I differ with your opinion in the sense that I feel that if you're getting period leave, but it doesn't affect your performance, well and good. But there are private companies that will actually, you will kind of run behind the men in your work if you take 2 day leave or something like that. What I feel is there's a better way of dealing with it. We know period pain is real. All of us go through it all the time. We know how painful it can be. We know how debilitating it can be. But they should, rather than complete leave, I would advocate work from home, because we are living in a
Yeah.
world of technology. If we don't use technology to our advantage, what is it for, really? Technology is not uh, creating those kind of morphed pictures by AI and then, scandalizing people. That's not what technology should be doing. What it should be doing is providing, again, women with that opportunity. It should be providing women with that platform where they are not left behind because they take a 2 day leave, where they are doing their work from their home if they can, unless, of course, it is so bad that they can't work at all. And we are women, no doubt, and fighting for our rights, but then we are human beings too, and human beings make mistakes and err and lie, and we do it all the time. So this can be used as a instrument. This can be used as a, I don't know, for laziness, for not doing your work properly. So it shouldn't be that women should be given a 2 day leave. Yes, it should be according to a woman's preference. If
I
she is
have one.
Yes.
Despite being aware of how troublesome the pain we go through is and how
yes.
excruciating, we are having to explain
That's
this
why
to
we should
people
get,
that we
yes,
are
we
not
should get
lazy.
options. We should get options. Okay, do you want to work from home? Do you work for a half day? Do you just take your classes online and you can rest for the rest of the time? It can be optional. It doesn't have to be compulsory. That's what I mean.
I
Yes,
also
Aditi.
think about it like this. I think about it in a way that it is purely biological, right? Because we women ultimately become mothers, and it's motherhood, and we are able to produce. Why we're able to produce, the basic reason for that, or the biological reason for that, is periods. And so making it something completely from biological to using it as a tool against us in the work area is kind of concerning. And it's a little, I think about it as kuch nahi mila to they use, this is one more reason for them to pick on. I mean, if men went through something like that, any biological
God
reason,
forbid. God forbid.
right, they would
They would pee every
Other
30
day
minutes.
I came across this meme where they
Please
said, it was really
don't
funny, like,
question them. You're
oh,
using
if you're comparing a man's pain with a woman's period pain, it's like him having a cold. When he has a cold, the pain is equal. So you can understand how they
right,
overdo everything,
exaggerate.
how their pains matter more, exaggerate everything.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, let's
So
come
I
back
think
to, for a short period, let's come back to what I was saying. So,
for
in
sure.
my opinion, and what I was thinking about, there are certain areas on which we can't compromise. They have to be taken care of. Now, it begins with the health of the girl child. Health, wellness, nutrition, adequate food. And we do know that if in a poor household, if a choice has to be made between giving nutritious food to a boy or a girl, who is going to get the food? The boy is going to get the food. Yeah. If we have to choose between sending a boy to school or a girl to school, we can only afford to send one child to school. Who are we going to send to school? The boy. But it's a no-brainer. We don't even have to think about it, and it'll be done. I think this meeting is going to end. Shall I start a new one? Part 2. I'll come back to you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll come back.